Ian, do you follow me on the Twitter/X?
I did. I just don't really use Twitter at all anymore.
I did a social experiment. I actually interacted socially on social media, which I don't do too often.
I'm happy about that because I've yelled at you many times before about how you don't treat social media as social media.
Don't treat me. Don't force me to get into your vortex of social media usage. Like you don't use social media enough. Anyway, so I ordered off of eBay a game, a variant cartridge. I did not own it. You thought I owned every variant. I was missing.
Oh yeah, you told me what it was.
A couple.
Yeah.
Variants. Actually, really one variant, but maybe a second.
All thanks to Wada.com.
No, actually, no.
I'm kidding.
No, not in this case. This is not the game, but this will be an example. So I ordered a game off of eBay from a seller that is a retro game seller. It wasn't just like a mom and pop selling random. So I keep staring at this. This is
because I was trying to see if it was the game you ordered, which it is not.
I might have ordered a game like this, but no, this is just a 5-screw rad racer in my hand. So I ordered a game off of eBay for $50, which I put in the tweet on purpose because I wanted to make sure people would be like, okay, just a $5 game, who cares? Order a game from, this is a seller, Ian, that's selling thousands of retro games.
Right.
Not just like they found 20 laying around. Good condition, says good. Good. And I know people talk about conditions, but good means good. You know, and I get it back, and I just go to clean the game, just like try. First of all, I haven't bought an NES game off eBay in forever. And so it's like, oh, this is cool. I'll clean it. And if you look at the picture, it was top 6 or 7 worst NES cleaning job I had to do ever. And I've cleaned, Ian, a ton of games, as have you. And it was...
It's that one in the middle.
That looks like gunk on it.
One in the middle that's like, it's faced out and it's just pitch black.
It's just pitch... The other one is black too.
The one right below it on the right side is pretty bad too.
So I cleaned the outside and the inside, because the outside, once I started touching, I was like, oh, this is grimy. And I like using the Q-tips on the outside.
It was grimy on the outside too?
Yes.
So
okay. I'm like, okay. You get your experience in later about grimy on the outside too, what that can mean. So 9 Q-tips I used to clean this, and it still wasn't 100% clean. But at some point I had to stop and be like, okay, for now, if I ever pop this on, I'm gonna have to clean it again. So I put out, I didn't do a Twitter poll, which would have been good because that's what a poll is for. I said, just clean an NES game from eBay, a variant I didn't have. I used 9 Q-tips to clean it. 6 for the connector and 3 external. It's still not 100% clean. This was being sold by a retro game seller with a ton of listings. Is this acceptable to you when buying? And I wanted to start a conversation about this, about, in general, customer service and the expectations of buying retro games from an online seller versus a mom and pop. And I got an interesting array of answers. And I thought I would get 89% of them say, like, Pat, I agree with you, this is not acceptable. Even though I didn't say it was unacceptable or not. But surprisingly, it was more like 60-40, where about 40% said that I should not have expected the game to have been reasonably cleaned. And I thought that was a very interesting. I went back and forth in good faith with people, wondering, I'd love to understand why you think it would be acceptable for a seller who sells mainly retro games as a business not to clean the game and have it be ready for a consumer. So I went back. We want me to read some of these? You want to give your thoughts first?
So I mean, I'll give my thoughts. I mean, so going through and looking at some of these, I can play both sides here. Okay, one.
I'll put the NES. This was not the NES game, by the way. I'll put it here.
Acceptable? I don't know how to define acceptable. Would I expect it to come to me nice? No, I wouldn't. Not from a U.S. seller. I wouldn't. Because that's just what I've been taught to expect from people. I mean, I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying I would not have expected it to come. I would not have expected, and this was something you mentioned, if it was one person selling one game, I probably would have expected it to come a little bit nicer. Mm-hmm. But if this is a person who is selling thousands of NES games online, that doesn't change that they should clean the stuff up before they send it out. But this is, I mean, I've seen eBay sellers, I've known eBay sellers who are like, you know, I mean, they're doing so much fucking volume. They're just sending shit out from the pile. They don't care. And again, I'm not saying that's good, but I'm saying no, I would not have expected the game to come particularly clean, especially in the case of the contacts. However, you said it was grimy on the outside
as well.
And if
which
it's,
was
and that is. I would love to think someone could take 3 minutes to run some Q-tips through a game at 30 seconds, a minute and a half, but I would not expect that. But not wiping something off that's actually grimy on the outside before putting it in and shipping, that to me is a little less acceptable.
Yeah, there was one picture which showed the outside, which looked like, okay, there could be something on there, but obviously once you get it and actually start scrubbing, you're like, oh shit, this is getting bad. And obviously the context, you have no idea. So these are some of the responses here. Drink a beer and play a game said, I somewhat expected from eBay, but I get real mad when mom and pop stores sell games like this.
So that's not the conversation I was having. I totally expect mom and pop stores to clean the games, make sure they look as nice as possible.
Someone named Evan said, this is acceptable. I expect it even at bigger establishments. I never expect clean contacts or replace batteries. Maybe it's another conversation, but replace batteries. Unless it is in a vacuum in space, you can count on some level of oxidation affecting the alloys I use. And I said this was not oxidation. See, to me, there's like a two Q-tip rule. Like every NES game that's been on the shelf that said we clean an NES Marathon, the next year we're going to have to re-clean it, probably with a Q-tip or two.
Well, I mean, one of the funniest things was, you remember how many, like, you were bringing, we tried to beat that problem. You were bringing me boxes and boxes of games at Luna, and I sat there and I cleaned them, and I cleaned them fucking well, and it didn't matter, because it took like a month to clean them or whatever, and like some of the games that we cleaned initially, but things just oxidize. They do. Yeah. But
this was not oxidation.
Well,
this like it was rubbed in a mud pit. This one. Someone named John responded, I think it's acceptable from eBay. It's annoying when it's from a store. So I responded, curious why you think there's a difference between an online store and a physical one. And then someone named Jesse responded, barrier to entry. So I responded, the barrier to entry means items should be treated differently, or are you saying this is an example of a consequence of that fact?
I think that's what they were saying.
So he said, any random Joe can sell on eBay, so I expect my items from eBay to be in random Joe condition unless they are advertised as brand new or like new.
That's what I was saying.
I know. A store is in the business of selling games, so I have a greater expectation of professionalism. Mm-hmm. I would also expect to pay more, though. And this came up again with someone else I'll get into. So I responded, but if it's an online seller / store, should they not be held to the same standard? Are we lowering expectations because of the platform of the business? And they responded, let's see what response. Yes, I set expectations based on the platform. If they are a store that sends you there from Twitter or something, I guess it means advertising, or something, maybe I would expect a bit more because they're banking on reputation. Obviously, if they specifically say it's been cleaned in the listing, I would expect that. So
I think it's broad. It's a broad use of the word store. I agree. I think an online store, yes, but that's not what it is.
It's a store, though. Like it's a store, but like a store is where you sell things to people from a
when
space.
I get it, but I think when they're talking store, they mean a walk-in place that's an experience.
Yes, but
that has rent and overhead and stuff like that. Because an online store, what is an online store? It can be a dude in a fucking closet with a 3 bags full of games. It's like they said prior, and there is no barrier to entry. It's all average Joes, so that's why I would not expect this.
But the question is, are we lowering our expectations on purpose, and why are we doing that? Because like I said, this seller was someone this was their main gig, it looked like. Or like if you're doing this as a side hustle, you're putting in a ton of work to do this. So like it's interesting. So you're putting in a ton of work at Luna Video Games. You're putting in a good amount of time, if the same, maybe could be even more if you're selling thousands of games, shipping them out individually off of eBay. These are all things that take a lot of work. Why are we setting expectations differently? And I really wanted to get a different answer. Some people were on your side. Some people said it's not acceptable. But then someone said, the one comment I want to bring up where someone brought it, price of the item could be a factor. And that's where I was like, interested about it. Someone named Joe said, never assume it is clean unless it says specifically. Unless you paid more than what current market dictated, assuming this had been done, it's not on the seller to clean every cart before they sell it. That perplexed me. And I actually wanted to get into a conversation to find out where it was coming from. So I said, why would higher, lower price than market value determine if I should expect the cart to be cleaned? And they responded, why would you expect it to be clean just because you paid $50? If it's $50 market value and you paid $50 for it, no need to mention price. If it's a $20 to $30 game and you paid a little more for it because you assume the seller was charging more for time spent cleaning, then I could see your issue. So I responded, I'm curious about your logic about market value determining customer service level. I do not see a correlation. And I put a $50 price because it was a $4 game because most people wouldn't care on the service. They said there isn't a correlation between market value and customer service level. That was the point I was attempting to make poorly. Unless someone states it's been clean, I never assume it has been. Even then, their standards of clean likely is not the same as mine or yours. And someone else piped in and said, I have the same expectations that if it's not stated, it's not expected. You can also get some deals when a seller states a game doesn't work, so they have a low price, and when you get it, all it needed was a good cleaning. Granted, that's much less common these days, but still happens. Okay, so basically their argument is there could be a price correlation versus market value, and that you should, I guess, expect better customer service if it's priced higher.
Yeah, I think that was just I think they just, as they said, phrased it poorly. I kind of understand what they're saying. And I think of this kind of like when I go to a physical store. If I go to a store with overhead and they're running a nice shop and the game is in really nice condition, mm-hmm. $10-15 more, yeah, okay, I that's fine. I would, paying more for condition and expecting it to be in that good condition is one thing. If you're paying more for it, you would expect it to come to you nicely.
What is more versus what? I guess what the going trend is, what's happening. I paid, just for the record, for that particular game, I paid in the ballpark for what it is. I probably got a slight discount, but it's like, to me, you get into a weird situation because then, okay, then if I'm spending $500 on a game, but it's worth $550, I shouldn't expect it to be clean because it's below market value. That's not a good argument to that.
There's something missing here because that would require the person selling the game to know the difference as well. I think what they're trying to say is, I think you can, if you're charging more for a game, it better be fucking clean. Like because yes.
But when you're buying on eBay, you don't know in general. Okay, it's just more or less. You're just looking at listings.
Right. I agree with the basic sentiment, but I don't understand the mechanics of what they're trying to say. I don't agree with that.
Our friend Day One Patch Kid said, I like cleaning them myself. Yeah, there's there actually is something like, I don't want to say therapeutic about cleaning NES games, but it is kind of almost relaxing in a way.
You have to be the right person, but I think everyone likes to clean something. Like I love to vacuum. I fucking love to vacuum.
Well, you got Spike. You clean up after the
vacuum, sweeping, like cleaning a floor. I love to do it, but some people like cleaning the cartridges. Bonnie likes putting stuff away.
Critic Cat, which is a great name, Critic Cat, says, not acceptable from another gamer or anyone who sells online professionally. If this is like a parent or grandparent or relative clearing out someone's old stuff, then I don't expect much from them. I have so many games waiting to be sold, but I know I need to clean them first. So I don't know. I think some people were saying, well, if it doesn't say it's clean, you shouldn't expect it. To me, if it's in good condition, good means it's working. When you put good, that's literally like one of the eBay things of condition, where if you say something's good, that means it's functioning or even acceptable. But no one really abides by those sort of rules, I guess, when they're selling games, for instance. But there's no way that game that I bought was tested, because it would never function in any NES. So like that's an argument I can make, where it's like they don't know it's working, and what if they sell me something and I clean it and it doesn't work?
Right.
And they're selling it now a $50 game that doesn't work. I know it's rare, but
that's a little different. I mean, you can now you can call them out as liars. I mean, if it's that bad, you can, yes, you can look at that pile of Q-tips and go, there's no way they tested that.
Because it is rare, but we have come across NES games that we both tried to clean and could not function. It's a very small percent.
Even in all of my 15 years at Luna, I probably found less than 100, and some people are going to be like, well, that's a big number. And it's like, no, I worked at Luna for 15 fucking years, and I sold the first 7 or 8 of those years. NES games were the biggest sellers. I mean, I've sold, I can't even.
It's the retro game market.
Yeah. But, I mean, if I found 100 in 15 years, that's nothing.
That's a good point you bring up, Ian, in a circular way. Do you think the fact that NES games are so robust and have a great reputation means that maybe sellers online would be, well, it'll probably work, I don't have to deal with it? more so than other sort of cartridges.
No, I absolutely, because they are so sturdy. I do. I think people just assume.
They just assume it's going to run.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at Luna, we never sold games without cleaning them. But when games came in, we honestly didn't test them unless they were super, super high. Like, we paid money for all sorts of games just because we were that confident in, these games work.
Sure. If it's a $10 Ninja Gaiden, it'll probably function with a little bit of, but not.
Yeah. Basically, we were willing to buy these games in before testing or doing anything because someone's traded in 100 games, don't got the time, and these cartridges are more robust than any other cartridge.
You're looking at 1 out of 1,000 games won't clean properly. Maybe it's between 1 and 500 or 1,000, but it's a smaller amount. Like I've come across probably between 5 and 10.
Yeah.
With NES Marathon, we came across a few, I remember, that we couldn't get working.
Well, and a lot of, and when I think about, the ones that I found over time, a lot of them were the bootleg cartridges or the unlicensed cartridges.
Oh, we had, I remember a couple of
licensed.
But we also had a licensed 1 or 2 that didn't function. I remember. I think Ghostbusters 2 was one. I remember we couldn't get functioning.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I do recall that.
I've had a 1942. I remember getting at a flea market that was almost like a fungus thing or something that I tried to clean out. It was smelled. That never worked.
There were definitely tons of, like in that 100, there were a bunch of regular licensed games, but you always have a higher chance with the unlicensed games.
Dusty B said, depends on the condition listed. This is my point.
Yeah.
If it was acceptable, sure. Excellent? Hell no. See, to me, it was good. Good to me is like, well, should be good. Description and price play into it too. Again, about the price, that's interesting because I don't think sellers give a shit about, like for an NES game, like to my point, they'll charge $10 above or below. To me, that has zero correlation to them cleaning it. I think it's just how the seller operates. If they think my reputation's on the line, I should clean it, they're going to clean it no matter if it's a $5, $25, $50 game. They're just going to do it.
Right. Reputation is reputation. Especially, I mean, if you... people are going to expect it, I think, more for the high value games. If you are selling and shipping out $3 games and they arrive clean, that's going to do a lot for your reputation.
FM Radio said, try buying MVS carts from AliExpress. I didn't know that was a thing, by the way. I got a Double Dragon cart that was 30% green paint. What? It was painted? Still only cost me £10. I think I spent the same again on Q-tips and IPA to clean it. IPA? Beer? Or am I missing something there?
Isopropyl alcohol.
Oh, okay. So IPA, Frank said, hey,
I've never heard that abbreviation for it before, but I think that that's
makes
probably
sense.
what it is.
We just say rubbing alcohol usually. Anyway, so I think it's an interesting conversation. It probably depends on how much you buy off of eBay, or maybe you become numb to it. But that was
that was also kind of my point too. We're all just numb to it.
Yeah.
Should it be acceptable? No, but do I expect things to come clean? Never.
Yet again, I would not have complained if it was like 2 or 3 Q-tips. I think once you get past 2, or 3, then it's like, okay, you're in trouble. Usually 2 or 3 in an NES game from all our NES marathons, that'll do you. Sometimes even 1 or a half. You're like, this looks fine. But that was probably top 10 worst I've cleaned, and I've cleaned my fair amount. Where like I could still take a few more to the cartridges over there. I'll show you later, and I probably still can get a little more off of that. And that's what that obviously some people like to take the card off and get the other inside contacts. Usually that's not required or necessary as long as the outside are okay. But if you want to do a deep cleaning,
that again, I think is more for the people who find it relaxing to do it, and more power to you. But yeah,
take their eraser to the inside and go
make it look real nice. Looking it up, IPA is a common shortening for isopropyl alcohol. So we learned something new today.
Okay, well, there you go. Nice. We don't really have Twitter conversations like this. I got to be more social on social media, I guess, when it comes to my NES games.
Give it a go.